We don't seem to be up yet. Oh, now we are. There it is. We've just arrived. So exciting. Steve Dotto here. How the heck's everybody doing this fine day? I need to welcome you all, one and all, to our Webinar Wednesday. This week we are going to be talking about email autoresponders, and we've got a whole bunch of new things happening this week that we haven't done before on Webinar Wednesday. First, we are using Webinar Jam's new webinar tool. It's called the Jam Room, and it's going to the YouTube Live. So we are seeing a slightly different, we're going to have a slightly different interface. We can have two presenters on screen at the same time, which we'll show you in a few moments. It's a very cool interface. But for you, our regular visitors to our webinars, the interface should look about the same. So we've got the chat room down the right-hand side. You've got the video in the center. If you have any issues, most of you would have seen a little video, I hope, running beforehand, but refresh your screen. If you have to exit, re-enter. If you're having issues beyond that, it's always a good idea to try using the Chrome browser. But we see lots of people coming into the room already. Welcome, one and all. This is so exciting. We are also doing one other thing today in today's webinar, which we haven't done before, which is once we reach the Q&A, we're going to simulcast and we're going to push it out to Facebook Live. So I'm a little bit nervous about that. It might work. It might be a colossal mistake to try and do it, but we're going to give it a shot. So we'll see. So hello from Mexico to Maria and Laura from South Florida. Welcome to you, Laura. Stuart in Glasgow, 6 p.m. in Glasgow. Good. You can have like a Guinness while you're watching. Duarte Campbell's in Salt Spring Island. You should not be having a Guinness while you're watching, although I'm not one to judge. We've got John from Durham in the UK. And we got, who was it from Croatia? Did you see that? We had a Croatian.
We have Hiroshi from Japan, too.
Sorry, no, Danielle from Croatia. What's that?
We have Hiroshi from Japan tonight.
Hiroshi from Japan. There we go. And Cheryl from Boston. People from all over. This is fantastic. So I'm stalling. This is in the current webinar world. We stall because it takes a little while for the webinar software to onboard everybody. And we have usually fairly reasonable size audiences. I think we've got, how many people do we have? We have 230, 240 people in the room now. So that is awesome sauce. I'm happy to see that. And we're almost ready to go. So here's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be dealing with the issues of your email autoresponder and just that basic part of the social marketing process. You know, email is still such a significant tool in conversing with our community, building awareness. And it's also really the only place that we can actually ask our customers, ask our community to do something with us, whatever our business objective is. All of you, or most of you in this webinar today, came because of email, because you were signed up on our mail list in our email autoresponder, and we invited you to this webinar as we keep you informed of everything that we're doing, and that's what brought you here. So you're going to be looking to develop the same skills. But I really want to know, as I prepared this content, I was just a little bit not sure. I think that means I wasn't sure. I was not sure exactly what level of sophistication the community has. So we've got a poll question to start things off, just asking if you're currently using email autoresponders, if you're not, or if you're just at that cusp, if you're just about to start to enact and start to use it. While I'll get April to push that poll out, and then we'll look at your results there in just a few seconds. While that poll is running and while you're responding, I'll fill you in on what we're going to be doing. So it is now kind of our regular style here on the Webinar Wednesdays. Is once I'm done with the little welcome and warming up and kind of establishing what we're going to be doing today, I have a video that I pre-recorded on Sunday, about a half an hour tutorial walking you through the email autoresponder, the basic primer on what's happening with email autoresponders and what you can be doing with them. Do we have the poll running? It is. Oh, good. There we go. So we'll be running through that. While that is running, I'll still be live. I'll be in the chat room along with you. And then once we're done with that, we will do a Q&A for the final half hour here of the webinar. It might go on a little bit longer. That Q&A is for the first time is going to be shared out to Facebook Live, and Jen will be managing the Facebook Live group. So she'll be popping in with questions that come from Facebook Live. And of course, we also have April here in the screen as well. I'm just going to bring April up now. along with me.
Hi, everybody.
So this is one of the new things in Webinar Jam Studio is that we can bring people on simultaneously. Isn't that awesome?
It's
so there's
awesome.
April. Jen's also here. Jen is not really presentable for public today because Jen is under the weather. She's taking one for the team. She has an ear infection, poor thing. And so she's going to be there to answer questions, but she doesn't want to be seen. Jen, thanks for coming in too. She's muted, so she'll respond later. If she's still there. She might be having a nap. I'm not sure.
Oh,
but so here's one thing about today's webinar that's going to be a little bit different as well. All of my team are experts in different areas, but this is April's real area of expertise. She manages our email autoresponder and our CRM, which is Infusionsoft, but she's also trained in a variety of other ones. So a lot of the questions today, I'm going to be relying on April to kind of take a little lead in answering as well. So which tools do you use on a regular basis, April?
Sure. So I have many clients that use actually Constant Contact, MailChimp, Infusionsoft, Ontraport, and our newest tool that we're working a lot is ConvertKit.
Yeah, ConvertKit's nice. Now there's a new MailChimp integration to Facebook. Have you checked that out yet?
I actually started looking at it. I'm not too familiar with it,
I haven't looked at it
but I
either,
just started looking at it.
I received an email before asking about it, so that's why it's kind of front of mind. All right, so let's take a look at the poll. So I'm going to end the poll right now, and does that send it out to everybody? At any rate, so 35% of you are currently building a list, 26% are no, and 39% are just getting started. Well, that is encouraging to me, because so I think that the content that I created is at the perfect level for this particular mix. So I think what we'll do right now is we will dive into the video, and as those of you who have attended one of our webinars before chat room, along with April and Jen, we will be answering as many of your questions as we can in the chat room, and then some of them we will defer to the Q&A at the very end, but we will see you on the other side. The video, the pre-recorded part of this, is 30 minutes long, so sit back, enjoy, learn about the world of email auto. All right, email autoresponders. This is actually a little bit of a daunting task explaining this to you, at least sharing as much information as I want in this short a time. But let's dive right into it. Email autoresponders there's a lot of different styles of email list management tools out there, from simple tools that will basically manage an email list for you and the database of people, all the way through to full-blown CRMs, or customer relationship management tools that add e-commerce and a whole bunch of other pieces to the puzzle. But we're going to try and understand the basics today. Let's kind of go through what we're going to try and get to today, which is, what are the autoresponders? What toolkit should you be employing? How should you be using that toolkit? And what tools within the autoresponder should you be looking at really learning, especially early on in your online marketing career? Integrating it a little bit into your system, building a system around it. And that doesn't necessarily always mean other applications, but the way that you do business. And we'll try and give you a good idea of how to get started. And even if you have started already, I think we'll look at it from a few different angles that you will find valuable today. Now, I said right at the very first slide, actually, the money is in the list. It's a quote that's very popular in the online marketing world, and it's a real truism. Anybody who has done any online marketing for any period of time knows that there's a direct correlation between the size of their list and the quality of their list and the revenue that they earn. So our goal is to create a large, qualified list, people who are interested in engaging with us and using that as a base for our business. So in the social system, the way that I teach the whole online marketing world, it all starts with social networks. And it's great to be popular in social networks, but it's far better to be connected with people on your list. So what we're going to be teaching today and talking about is the basis of, it's almost old school, permission-based marketing, email marketing. You can call it relationship marketing or content marketing. It all falls into kind of the same basket. And the bottom line is that there's technology in there that we need to master, and that is our list management tool. So our goal when we're doing this business, when we're in business of this style, is to first of all build awareness in social platforms. That's what I'm going to be teaching you as long as you're part of this community. I'm going to be talking about building awareness in social, regardless of your platform. Mine is YouTube. Yours might be Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or YouTube. Any of the social platforms, that's where you build your awareness and establish yourself. Then you establish authority there, and then we migrate the people into our own environment. We do that by moving them from the social channel to our own channel, and our channel is manifest in our mail list. So I call this the social system. It's not, I didn't invent this process, but I certainly am working within this process and building my business on this process. Now, if we look at the wholeness of it, it starts with the social networking, moving people, connecting them on our blog or website, lots of benefits there. Then we opt them in, we get them actually into our email software where we can start to have a one-on-one conversation and connection with them. We build trust there, we nurture them, and ultimately move them to whatever our sales or business goal is. So that's really, in a nutshell, what the social system is. If we look at that whole picture, what we're going to be looking at today is this middle third, which is once we've established ourselves in social with our content, with our personality, with whatever it is that we establish ourselves, we're now moving them onto our blog, and at that point there, we're going to have mechanisms in place to capture them and entice them to join our community. We're going to be talking about that more from a mechanical perspective of how you do it, but a little bit from a content and philosophical perspective too, because the two are intimately entwined. So in the social system, it all begins with discovery, and that's out on your social network, your groups, your forums, wherever it is that you're reaching out to your community and establishing your authority. Once people have discovered you and know who you are, and you start providing some valuable content, our goal is to migrate them. And the first migration happens from the social platform, following us on Facebook, to visiting our blog post, to looking at our own site. There's benefits there, which go into how we track people, just establishing more of authority of our own brands, have them see the fullness of what we offer. But the mechanical and the benefit that we're looking for today is getting them to an opt-in form, getting them to a place where they can give us their email address and their name so that we can have permission to sell to them or to talk to them in the future. Just basically talk to them, to share more content with them. All of you, everybody on this list, in this call right now, came to me through this process. You discovered me somewhere. It could have been through friends. It could have been because you used to watch our TV show. It could have been because you watched a YouTube video. It could have been because you were interested in learning about Evernote. Lots of different places that you learned about me, but ultimately you came to a page where I offered you something, where I said, take a course, sign up for our newsletter. Here's some free training on Evernote. Here's some paid training on Evernote. Here's how to create social video. I offered you something that you considered valuable coming from me because I'd established that the content we were creating had value. And then you trusted me enough to give me your name. And then now we began that process of building that trust further and further and further, which is the stage that we're in if we look at the mechanics of our relationship right now. So that's the next stage, is migration. Once they've migrated to your content, to your site, then we need to convert you. We need to, the conversion is, in this particular case, getting your name and email address, which gives me permission to then start to communicate with you in a variety of different aspects. To do that, most common wisdom is you have to create some sort of a compelling offer. You have to offer the community something. Get access to the newsletter. If your newsletter is that fantastic, more likely it's going to be a checklist or a webinar that you deliver or a simple training or a mini course. We use all of those different compelling offers in building our list. Now, I'm not the expert on this. I learned my skills in how to do this from following people like Amy Porterfield and Mari Smith. They really have this concept of social building down to a T. So we'll actually include some resources in our notes so that you can follow their podcast, look at their content. They train far better than I can on that side of the soft skills of building a compelling offer. But the bottom line is, once you've got that compelling offer in place, then you can create a conversion where you give you permission to talk to them. And at that point, there the mechanics kick in. What is the system that we have in place? So we've got our email software list. We've got our email tool that allows us to mechanically manage the process. And that process looks like this. You come to a landing page. It could be your blog post. It could be an offer. For this webinar, we'll look at this webinar's landing page in a few moments. That's the mechanical piece that got you into this part of my list building operation, which is my compelling offer was the webinar. So a landing page. On that landing page is the opt-in form where we capture your email address and your name. That has to be linked to your CRM, your autoresponder. That's how the information gets in there. The person then goes to a success page where you can continue the communication with them. You can tell them about the date and the time of the event. You can give them a download link. You can ask them for permission to send them more information or offer them other things, or just confirm with them that they are indeed on your list. That happens at that point. And you also at that point send a follow-up email that confirms. Now, in Canada, in much of North America, and I think worldwide it's just a good idea, we typically, the best practices are to have something called double opt-in, where people have given you their name and email address, and then there's a confirmation email that is sent to you, which you then have to confirm that you actually asked for it. This is to combat spam. There's actually a canned spam law here in Canada that if we don't follow those rules, if we don't make it very clear that people are coming on our mail list and what we're going to be sending them, you can be fined. And it's also just good practices to respect people enough. Now, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. People get a little bit overwhelmed at the beginning because they sign up for your newsletter, they're sent to a success page, and then another email comes to them that they have to respond to. Seems like a little bit of work on the customer side, but the bottom line is those are best practices for avoiding spam being sent in the future, and also avoid being labeled a spam artist. So it's in the follow-up email that we typically complete the double opt-in process. Although if you decide to, you can also do that on the success page if you want. But it's a little more risky to do it there. It's better to do it in the follow-up email. Next is that where the person who signed up for your list starts to get their reward. They get access to the webinar, they get access to the training, they get access to the download, and whatever the trigger is for that, whether it's the success page, the email, they can click to download it, or it's sent to them by another email. That there is where your relationship really starts to take off. And at that point there, most of us follow what we call an email sequence, where we will send you a series of emails basically introducing our philosophy, our offerings, our community to you at a more and more intimate level, kind of more and more detail as we go along. Perhaps it's training on a product or a concept where we're giving you more and more information about it, where you have a bit of a trickle campaign where you send some more information. You can also call this a sales funnel or a funnel at this point, where we're moving you through and qualifying the person a little bit more, making sure that they are indeed interested in whatever our ultimate business objective is, be it coaching, be it a product that we sell to them, joining a community, whatever our ultimate business goal is, we qualify people more and more through this series of emails. But it all begins from the landing page, getting the email address, and then starting this sequence. So we'll look at the mechanics and how that all pulls together as we take a look at the software in a few moments. But talking about the software, regardless if you have a CRM or a mail list manager or an autoresponder, regardless of what they call themselves, they all have these features built in. They're all databases. At the end of the day, they will store a record of name, email address, contact information is all there stored in that database. But it also has a tool that allows us to create group mailings, to be able to compose emails and then send them to segments or all of the group. They also have automation. Automation is crucial. Automation from the point of registering, being able to create forms that will capture email address, names, other information, and sequence them correctly into whatever list or whatever subgroup you have within your mail list. And they also have to be able to unsubscribe. Part of the canned spam laws and part of double opt-in laws rules is that you always have an unsubscribe button on each and every missive you send. On every email you send out, there's a prominent unsubscribe button. So if people don't want to receive your content anymore, they can unsubscribe. That's built into the software as well. As well, the ability to do list segmentation. As your business grows, you might have people that are all just on one, everybody's on one list because you just do one thing. But if you're like a business like Dottotech, we do productivity, we do social media marketing, and we do video. So which of those topics, you might be interested in all three. Chances are you're not interested in all three. So if you're only interested in productivity, I don't want to be sending you emails when I'm about to launch a new video course. I want to be able to segment you out so I'm not bombarding you with unwanted email. So being able to segment people so that you can more aggressively communicate with them in topics they're interested in is another hallmark of CRM or autoresponder software. The ability to create those sequences, the email sequences, which is an automatic follow-up sequence of a trickle-out email campaign where we send you information, and as well as open monitoring, where we see if you've opened the list, and then we can also do behavioral controls, where if you've opened the mail and you've clicked on this link, then I'm going to send you this link. If you haven't opened it, then I'm going to send you this this next email if you haven't opened it within a week. And if you haven't opened that within another week, I'm going to send you another email and then move you to another list perhaps. So based on your behaviors, you need to be able to migrate people within the software itself. That's where we're getting a little bit more sophisticated with the email software, but those are all the tools that you have at your fingertips. And if you don't know how to use, if you're using a piece of software and you don't know how to do those things, that's what you have to familiarize yourself with within your software right now. And I'm 99% sure that every one of the major tools will do all of these things. Certainly all the ones that I've looked at, I can do all of those things within. So let's now take a look, and let's dive in and just take a look at the software itself, shall we? Now, as far as the email autoresponders goes, there's probably 20 different packages. Now I don't have time to show you them all, nor do you want to see them all. And I honestly can't recommend one over the other. They all have their detractors and their supporters. I started out with a tool called Aweber, which was functional. It did the job. I didn't love all of the things about it. I found it a little archaic in some ways, but I was able to do everything I needed in it until I grew to the point that I went to a tool called Infusionsoft. So I consider Aweber to be kind of an entry-level package that you can go quite large with it, but I consider it to be, along with MailChimp, Emma Mail, Constant Contact, kind of that first-level product. Then the intermediate level, we have tools like Infusionsoft, we have ConvertKit, we have Ontraport. That's the area that my business is in now. And at the very top end, you have other tools like Mercado and HubSpot and some other super high-end tools that I don't even know. They cost a couple $1,000s a month. I'm not ready to do that yet. To give you a frame of reference, I started out with Aweber, and I grew to the point where I was spending about $100 a month with Aweber because of the size of my list, a little bit more than that. And then I migrated over to Infusionsoft, and I pay about $400 a month for my Infusionsoft now. But I have 30,000 names on my email address now, on my email list. So that gives you kind of a little bit of scale. Let's just use MailChimp as an example. Because I like MailChimp. I did play with it a little bit at the beginning. I don't remember the reason that I chose Aweber when I first chose, but it was one or the other. I think just Aweber might have had a sale on, and that's the reason that I purchased it at the beginning. But you can start for free. It allows you to have a couple thousand names on your email list, but it limits what you can do with that as far as the list segmentation and that sort of stuff. But you can start for free with most of these programs. They either have a 1 month or a limited number of email address free trial. But let's just open it up and take a quick look. Now, I have set up within MailChimp. I just set this up yesterday. So this webinar we're doing, I'm recording this just a few days before the live delivery, so 3 or 4 days before the live delivery. So I set this up, and what I did is I imported an audience into it, a small mail list, which is actually just the people who have registered for this webinar. So just because you can import people from existing tools, from one tool to another tool. So I just wanted to make sure that I had a mail list in place here. So if we go back to its homepage here, let's see, navigate through. And I apologize if I stumble a little bit within the software because I don't use it every day, and it's been a while since I used it. I just kind of set things up. But it will also show you that the things that I expect are there. The things that I'm saying are in each software, and you might just have to poke around a little bit or use their help in order to find it. But here's the list. Now, when you start, you'll probably start by creating a new list. That's obviously the place you start, and they'll walk you through the process. But you want to create a new list, so you just go here to create list, and then you can determine if it's whether it's a list or a subdivided, or you want to subdivide an existing list with groups, meaning that you could have a mail list for everybody. So everybody gets my newsletter, but only some people get my content on Evernote. Evernote would be a group that they call it here. Within Infusionsoft, we call those tags. We set people up with tags. But the bottom line is this is the list segmentation that I was talking about. We won't do that. Instead, we'll just work with the existing list because along with getting the first people in, which is just basically an import, the real first thing that you need to do is you need to create that opt-in page. You need to start to create the mechanisms for people to join your list. And you do that here within MailChimp by going into sign-up forms. And the sign-up forms are related not to the general account, but to the list that you're creating. So if you have a main mail list for your newsletter, you'd go into that list, and then you'd click on sign-up forms. And here, these are the type of forms that MailChimp will create for us. A general form. Now this one here, if I just select it, it creates a form that they host. Here's the URL. So you don't even need to have your own website if you're doing this. You could share this in social media and say, sign up for my mail list. And when people go to that form, this is what they see. It's actually hosted on MailChimp, and that's what it looks like. You can fancy it up if you want, but there's the email address, first name, last name, and I can subscribe to the list. That will add me to that list. It's that easy to get started. You don't need to have your own landing pages, your own software. You can use their services to create the first to create your first opt-in. You see, all right there. We can lay it out and design it and fancy it up if we want. But you're probably not going to do that. Instead of that, you're probably going to either create an embedded form or some sort of pop-up so that you can put their contact information on your site or their registration form on your site. So creating an HTML code, which will embed a form in your web page, is one way to go. And again, the designs are fairly easy to do. You can go through and you can customize a little bit on how it looks, a little bit on what content is in it and what it says, and then it will then take the information and create this bit of code here that you basically put in. You can put it into a blog, you can put it into a page, and it will display on your website. Or they also allow you to create pop-up forms, which will pop up. And I actually use another tool for creating my pop-ups. This is the most basic way of doing it. As you get more advanced, you'll end up using software, either a service that you use for creating landing pages, or you'll actually build the integration from your website out. And I'll show you how that works in a minute. It's more elegant, but this is definitely where beginners, if you're just starting out, you're going to be using one of these tools here. You can also create Facebook forms right within it, which I haven't tried, but I guess you can create a sign-up form right on your Facebook page as well, which is pretty cool to be able to do as well. The bottom line is that allows you to create that opt-in form. And what does this all look like when the rubber meets the road? Well, let's take a step away from MailChimp for a moment, and let's take a look at what happened when you signed up for this webinar. When you signed up for this webinar, you went to, let me just go to, there it is, Webinar Wednesdays. You went to this landing page. And here within this landing page, I actually used a form very similar to the MailChimp HTML pop-up. I used a pop-up. Now, in this particular case, it was generated by the webinar software, and then we linked it through to our CRM. A little bit more advanced because we had to register you to get into the webinar as well as on our mail list, but the process in the theory is the same. I click on that, up comes a opt-in form for name and email address. When you click on register, you are sent to this page here, which is a welcome page, a success page, which gives some more detail about the event that you're going to, and at the same time, you're sent an email which looks just like this, which has the detail again. Now, if I needed you to confirm your opt-in, there would be a little button here saying, please confirm that you want to be on this list. So that is the sequence. Landing page, which you just saw, the page that marketed the webinar. Opt-in form, in this case, it popped up on the page. You filled in the information. Success page, which you followed to, which confirmed that you were subscribed, and then a follow-up by email. That is basically email marketing 101 as far as getting people onboarded into your system. Once they're there, you can start to build out really far more advanced and sophisticated ways of communicating with them. So this, I just wanted to give you a snapshot of what that picture looked like. Now I want to show you two other things before we get to the questions on this topic. The next thing I want to talk to you about is getting a little bit more sophisticated as far as the landing page and opting people in, because at the end of the day, if you create a good, compelling offer for people to subscribe to, you're going to build your list and grow your list much faster. The way that you create a compelling offer is you have to obviously have some good content, but you also have to articulate it well. So creating a good landing page that people come to so they can see exactly what they're getting from you, that is really important. So a lot of people use dedicated tools for that, and you can pay. There's a lot of different landing page software and choices you can make. Now, I have chosen a tool which is actually a WordPress theme called. It's called Optimize Press, and that's actually not it here. This is the wrong. Is this the right one? No, sorry, that's my main page. Let's go actually here. We can get to it through here. We were there. We can go in and take a look at it right here. There we go. So I actually use a tool called Optimize Press, which this is a theme on our website, and it has these basic layout tools that allow you to lay out your landing page or the web page that people visit, so that you can add all sorts of marketing information and graphics. In my case, I've got a countdown timer and all of that included. But the key to this is the ability to be able to put an opt-in form right in here. And I'm just going to show you how you add that really quickly. They have different elements within this tool, and one of those is an opt-in box. If I open the opt-in box, it will allow me to choose a variety of different graphic treatments for the opt-in box. But this is where it becomes really sophisticated and actually, I think, quite elegant. Once I've chosen to put, say, a box that looks like this on my website, within this web page, within this landing page, then I go and I can actually choose, because of the way that this software is designed, it has API or application level interface with Infusionsoft. That's my Infusionsoft account right there. And I can choose from Infusionsoft which segments the list automatically I want that person who opts in at this point to be on. Because where people opt in, what they opt in with on your page is the first indicator of what content they're interested in. So if you're interested in Evernote, I would have an Evernote tag here that would identify you as being part of my Evernote community as you come in. So you can add, in fact, you can actually add multiple, but you can add tags at this point to people as they come in. So you've got all of this detail that you can put in place and before you ever create the form. And then once you've done that, the form is there, and everybody who registers, as soon as they enter the information in this form on your website, that information is immediately sent through to, in my case, Infusionsoft, with all of those tags in place. And by putting those tags in place, we can then sequence you. So this is something that I wanted to touch base on right away, which is how much more sophisticated you can be in that initial opt-in and controlling how much you know about the person and giving them a good experience as they first opt in to join your list. So that's number one. Number two thing that I wanted to show you is, I'm just going to exit that because I don't need to save that, is I'm going to take you into Infusionsoft, and I am going to show you what happens after you register. Because once you've registered for the list, and here's my whole Infusionsoft account right ahead of you. This is how many people have registered for this webinar, because I'm tracking this webinar right now. This is a dashboard that tells me pretty much the health of my whole list. But what I want to take you into is an area within Infusionsoft called the Campaign Builder. Because the Campaign Builder is where we build more than just single emails. We build sophisticated follow-up sequences to email. And so this is, if you are building a sales funnel, this is where you go to do that. And actually, I'm not going to show it to you here because I'm in Chrome, and I know for a fact that Infusionsoft, for some reason, the Campaign Builder is acting up in Chrome right now. So I'm just going over to Firefox right now, and we're going to go to the exact same place. So humor me for a moment while we jump over into the Campaign Builder now in Firefox instead of Chrome, and there it is. So these are email sequences that you can create, or campaigns that you can create that have all sorts of sophistication built in. But let me just take you into one of my more popular ones, which is when I'm selling my screencasting course. So to sell my screencasting course, I initially invite people to, one of the ways I do it is my compelling offer is a free little mini course that we've created in Thinkific, which takes them through a webinar and some supporting content. And this is what it looks like from a marketing perspective. This is actually a flow chart of you opt in on the form here, and then you're sent, and a tag is applied to you here saying that you're interested in screencasting, and then you're sent to this email list here where we send this email sequence here, right? Yeah, actually, if we work our way through this email sequence right here, and then some people purchase and other people are tagged that they're not interested in purchasing. So that's what it looks like as a flow chart. But look at this. We can go into the reporting, and we can actually see how many people are in each stage of the sequence. Now, this isn't a campaign that I'm super active with. I'm not promoting it through any paid traffic right now, so we've only got a few people in the funnel, but we actually have 58 people that are in the email sequence right now. So I can see with this reporting just how well the funnel is performing, leading down to sales down at the bottom. But let's go back into the editing area and show you what part of the funnel might look like. So here, within it, this is an email sequence. So this is a series of emails that I wrote. So when you sign up for my mini course, you go through the mechanics that we just talked about of filling in the form, you get tagged, This form is then submitted to Dottotech. You send a follow-up email to confirm that you want to take the course. You're given access to this little mini course. And while you're taking that course, I am then putting you in and sending you these emails. So I'm right away sending you this email here, which is your best investment is video. And it's a little email that I send that encourages you to learn a little bit more and basically tells you a little bit more about the world of video. Then, after 2 days, I got a little timer here, and all of these tools are available to us in this sidebar area here. After 2 days, I send another email to you that says, when you think about video, you should be thinking about this. And so it's another little follow-up. So I'm just basically trickling through little information nuggets of gold to you that inform you a little bit more. And every step of the way, you also appreciate the fact that I've taken the time to educate you a little bit more. I don't overwhelm you. I don't say, come and buy something right away. But instead I say, hey, if you're interested in video, this is something interesting. Here's another interesting thing. And every couple of days for a while, I send you a little bit more information to the point where I then say, if you're still interested in this content, you might be interested in this course, or you might be interested in more information over here. So we basically work you through the system this way. This is very sophisticated, but this also is something that you can do with each and every email tool that we're looking at and that we're talking about today. From the most basic Aweber and MailChimp all the way through to the Infusionsoft, you can create sequences like this. Now, it might look slightly different. It might be a list as opposed to a flow chart that we have here, but this is the function that's built into an email autoresponder. At the end of the day, an email autoresponder for you has to do these things. Capture potential people's information, their email address, their name, so that you can then respond to it. It has to give them control over their own account so they can unsubscribe if they want to. It has to let you know what they're interested in, allowing you to segment them into different themes, into different ideas, so that you can send them appropriate information. It has to give you the tools to be able to send information to them automatically without having to send an email every day, to put them into a sequence where you can follow up with them through a planned strategy of communication that leads to some business objective on your side. If it does all of that, you've got the basis for building your business. Adding e-commerce, adding the ability to purchase product, all of those sorts of things, those are benefits downstream, or you can use other tools that do those things. But your email software has to take people through the enrollment process with the ability for them to control their environment, give you the information on what they're interested in, where they are in your sequence, and give you the ability to send them sequential information downstream. Of course, we also can use the same software to send them a weekly email, which we compose on the fly and we send ad hoc. But it's these automated sequences that are really at the core of building an effective social system. So I think I've covered everything that I wanted to right now. So let's jump into the Q&A in the webinar. I should be back with you right now. Wow. So lots of questions. There were so many questions. I gave up trying to answer them all because they were going to be disjointed. So we're going to answer and work our way through all of the questions in just a few moments here in the Q&A. So thanks so much for all of the engagement. And it seems like we learn a lot. I'm always amazed with these webinars. We've been doing these Webinar Wednesdays now for about a month. And our retention rate is phenomenal. We've had almost nobody drop out. So I thank you all for sticking with it and making it so much more valuable. The questions that you add, the interaction that you bring in really adds to the value here. So I've got a little bit of housekeeping that I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to go into screen sharing for the first time with this new tool. Let's take a look at the screen sharing. And
Oops.
We will get to the Q&A. But I wanted to give you an update on what's happening with Webinar Wednesdays and just where we sit right now. So are we getting the screen? I think we are. Yes, we are. Good.
We are, Neil.
Okay.
Yep.
So first thing to remember, what we do with each one of these Webinar Wednesdays is this replay is going to be available to you for 48 hours. Now, they fixed it in the new version of Webinar Jam. When you watch the replay, the pre-recorded segment that we just saw is now incorporated within the replay. So that'll be there for you as well. So just know that this expires after 48 hours, unless, of course, you're one of our Patreon supporters, which I'll be telling you about in just a moment. Next week's webinar is oh so important. It's something that's really is from something where deep in my soul. We're dealing with information overload, email overload specifically. One of the very first courses that the first course that I ever published was on information overload and dealing with email overload. And I developed a program that I call 3 Steps to Inbox Zero, getting control of your inbox. And the reason that this speaks so much to me is I believe that so much stress in our lives is caused by email. And in every study I've read talks about how much anxiety and stress email causes. Not only does it cause stress, but it causes lost productivity and incredible frustration. So we've developed a system that, there's lots of ways to overcome it. I've developed a system which is designed to help you overcome it, especially from a perspective of people that have too much in their inbox right now. I think it's like losing weight. Once you've lost weight and you're fit and you're all active and you're able to be super, to be able to be in a fitness routine because you're strong and healthy, that it's a lot easier at that point. It's the first getting over these humps. And for email people, or people that have issues with email, getting over that huge backlog of email that's in your inbox. And I've got a question for you right now. Let's post this question in the inbox because I'm so curious. How many email messages do you have in your inbox right now? So April, if you can push that poll out right now, I want to know. And as soon as I'm done with this little update, I'm going to take a look at the numbers, but I think we're going to be shocked. At any rate, I'm going to encourage you folks for the email, the email overload course, 3 Steps to Inbox Zero. And with this one, I'm incorporating, because we can't cover it all in just a webinar, in a 1-hour webinar. So I've taken my course content that I designed before, and we're going to give that to you in a Thinkific mini course at the back once we're done with that webinar next week. So there's going to be a big bonus. It's going to be a lot more content than our normal Webinar Wednesdays. Now, for those of you who are interested in seeing the replay of this webinar beyond the 48-hour period that it's available for, we are supported by you folks at Patreon. Patreon is a crowdfunding site where basically the Dottotech community comes together and makes this show and all of our content happen. So essentially, it's like Kickstarter, but for content creators. So if you are interested in having access to all of these tutorial webinars that we create on an ongoing basis for all time, they're all going to be in the archive that are available to all of our Patreon supporters. So it's you folks make a commitment to us of $10 a month supporting us, and for that you get access to Evernote Made Easy, our productivity course, which is probably the most popular product we've ever created here at Dottotech. You get access to the Webinar Wednesday archive. You get 50% off on all of our premium courses coming downstream. And for our paid webinars that we do once a month, you get those for basically $10 each. The beauty of Patreon is it's direct access to our whole community. And it's a community coming together and supporting us here on Dottotech. So my philosophy around Patreon is this, that because you folks are our community supporting us, you're not just supporting me, but you're supporting our community. In other words, our team, April and Jen, who are in the room with us right now. All of the revenue that we make from Patreon pays the salaries of the Dottotech team and allows us to create more content, like the content that we've just been covering here, the sort of training and tutorial content that we create, which I think we do a terrific job in. So we're here because of you. And if you are interested in getting the benefits of Patreon and supporting us at Dottotech, just visiting patreon.com/Dottotech is the place to go for that. So we'll drop that link into the chat as well. And I'm going to turn screen. And I promised that I was going to do something. What did I say I was going to do as soon as this was over?
Poll results.
Oh, the poll results. That's it. I wanted to see the poll results. So let's see. I can hardly wait to see. 36% of you have less than 50.
They're so organized.
That's pretty good. 13% have 50 to 200. Look at that. 16%, 200 to 1,000, and 50% of our people have over 200 emails in their inbox, which means essentially you're probably not feeling in control of your email inbox at this point here. And that is a terrible place to be. We will give you the skills. I'm very proud of the content that we produced in the course that I produced for 3 Steps to Inbox Zero. So let's drop that link in for people to register next week. Join us next week. It's not going to be fun. It's work, but it's work that is so worthwhile, because at the end of the day, this is systemic. Not only are you more in control, more productive, but you end up sleeping better at night. I'm not kidding. This makes a difference in your personal well-being, having control of your email inbox, because it creates so much stress, because your email inbox represents obligations. You know in your brain that it's obligations, and when it's out of control, you feel you're letting something down or missing out on opportunities. This is a big course. It could be life-changing. I'm not positive it will be, but it could be. All right. Here's what we're going to do now. Oh, I'm so excited. I am about to start broadcasting on Facebook Live because we are multicasting now. We're going to continue to take all of your questions, but Jen is going to pop in and out with questions on Facebook Live if indeed I am succeeding in delivering my content here to Facebook Live. So we will see if that is going to work in a moment. So anybody that's tuning in now on Facebook Live, we've just completed a webinar talking about email autoresponders, and now we're starting our Q&A section. So let us dive in and start taking questions now. April, what's the first question that you've got for me?
All right, so let's see. The first question is, it's funny, the chat's moving, sorry. The chat
Yeah, you got to go right down to the bottom.
Yeah,
There's a lot of them.
There is a lot of them, and for some reason it's just taken a few minutes to catch up. So does Steve Dotto have something dealing with marketing with text messaging? I
haven't done any text messaging, using text messaging, but I know that both the Webinar Jam autoresponder, which we actually use a little mini autoresponder in Webinar Jam for dealing with all of the people on the webinar. They've got an SMS option that's speaking to some of my compatriots. They've used very successfully. I've never taken advantage of it, but I know Infusionsoft also has it. I'm kind of on the fence where I think, aren't we in your face enough with the email? And I'm just wondering about whether or not people are going to appreciate being text messaged. For webinars, it might be a good idea for reminding people to come into the webinars, and I'm willing to play with it, but I haven't tried it out. April, do any of your clients use it?
They do, but I find that the clients have the most success with it are coaches more for appointments than anything from a webinar aspect. I do have a client that we tried the SMS text for webinars, and we ended up, it kind of dwindled the list quite a bit because people were not happy about the SMS text. I think the big thing is if you are using it, give people the option to have that as a reminder, and don't automatically assume because now you have your phone number that you can text them, because I think sometimes people don't do a great job of communicating that.
Good point. Okay.
Hey, Steve.
Good. Hey, Jen, are we broadcasting?
We have a blank screen. Audio is there, but no video.
Really? Okay. So maybe I set something up wrongly here. We have a blank screen.
Just black screen, yep.
Okay. So I'm probably not going to have time to troubleshoot it too much, but that's okay. I will try and fix that. And while I'm trying to fix that, April, you can ask me the next question.
Okay. Looks like you might have answered this. What are your thoughts on Zapier?
Zapier is a great tool just for basically connecting our different applications that need connecting. So a lot of applications will talk to each other. I'm just going to stop the Facebook recording there. A lot of our applications will talk to each other through API interfaces automatically. Some of them don't, and we need to create a connection. So Zapier basically works best for those sorts of people there.
All right. Our friend James is asking, where would ACT be on the scale of startup, mid-range, or expert CRM tools?
See, it's more of a CRM than a email autoresponder. It's kind of a classic tool that people used back in the day, where they were like salespeople would be using it for contact management. And I never liked it too much, but I think that they probably brought it up to speed, and it's probably still pretty decent. And they've got a lot of people that have got a lot invested in it, but it doesn't do email autorespond stuff the way that we're talking about. It's more for that, individual connection rather than group management the way that we do.
All right, great. Off topic question. What software do you use to show background on green screen during your webinars?
Okay, I sent him a link. We pre-record that, and that's all our screencasting stuff. So I dropped a link in there for that.
Okay. Any thoughts on GetResponse?
No. Do you have any?
You know what? I think GetResponse has some great offerings in a good price point. It does some tagging. It has web card options. I think the biggest thing, so I'm a huge component of, I only promote tools that I've used, and I actually have not used GetResponse. I've looked at it. I think the big thing is to understand that not any of these autoresponders or any of these automation tools are going to do every single thing that you need it to in your business. So that's the key as you're looking at these tools, or like even GetResponse, that if it can get 75% of the job done, awesome. You may need some other tools to use as well.
Good. I discovered what I did wrong. Is I'm still learning to use Wirecast, and I had not pushed our preview through. So now it's being pushed through. So it should start up in Facebook Live there in a few moments, Jen.
Oh, perfect. I just got notification that it is starting.
Ooh, okay.
Awesome.
And
So April, you can post the next question.
All right. Is there a way to import the names and details after people sign up to MailChimp, etc.? That way I have a backup and in case you want to change into another system.
Yeah, all of the every email tool that you use will have the ability to both import and export all of your contacts. So migration is possible. The challenge when you migrate from one email autoresponder to another email autoresponder is not the contacts coming through. That's pretty straightforward. It's just a spreadsheet, basically. The challenge is the sequences you've built, those email sequences, and recreating those. That's where the real challenge lies. And so it's your investment in building those sequences that you will lose, that you will notice you lose when you move from one to the other.
Right. And just on a side note about MailChimp, I think the biggest, I love MailChimp for a lot of reasons, but I think the biggest downfall it has is it doesn't have kind of segmentation of having, so for example, a lot of these CRM tools, you can segment your list. Like if you're sending out a newsletter, but you want to send to another niche list that you have, if both email addresses are in there, it doesn't auto dedupe for you. So I highly recommend always keeping a Excel spreadsheet of your contacts in that tool.
Excellent. And to all of our friends on Facebook Live, we are now broadcasting. This is a Q&A for a webinar which we've just completed for our social system webinar, which we were talking about email autoresponders. So if you have questions or thoughts about the email autoresponder world, building an email list, that's what we're talking about right now. We've just gone through about a 45-minute webinar where we've talked about that content, and now we're sharing the Q&A to Facebook. Jen is in the Facebook group, so she will present any of your questions that you post in Facebook to me here in the webinar, and then we all can answer. We can learn, all of us together at the same time. All right, April, what's my next webinar question?
All right, my friend Marla is saying opinions on Optimized Press versus Thrive themes.
Okay, I haven't used a Thrive theme, but Optimized Press is a WordPress theme, which is a great landing page creator, but it also does a little bit more than just create landing pages. You can actually create full membership communities around it, but you can use it as a theme for your WordPress site. It competes with products like Lead Pages, which kind of is a SaaS or a software as a service competitor like Optimized Press. We use Optimized Press. So whenever you register for any of our content, it's going to be through Optimized Press. But I find Optimized Press slows a website down if it's used as a plugin when you have another theme. So if you're going to use it as a full theme, and then it's great for building all of your landing pages. How we worked our way around it is we created a subdomain. So all of our main blog content and video content lives within another WordPress theme on our hosted domain. And then we have a subdomain called members.dottotech.com, which we use for all of our landing pages and sales pages, which we also create in Optimized Press.
Laura's asking, where's the best place to put landing page? So my chat keeps disappearing on the bottom here. I'm sorry, as I'm reading a question. Where's the best place to put a landing page to opt in on your website?
Well, you probably are going to be putting opt-in forms everywhere you can on your website. The more places you have them, the more people that will opt in. And a lot of people don't like having, say, the window pop up, and they find it a little bit invasive. But the bottom line is, if you're in business, you're building your list. There's a quid pro quo. If you're giving away a lot of free, good, valuable content, you can irritate your audience just a little bit by asking them to sign up for your list so that you can actually do business with them. Because otherwise, you're just giving everything away and you're not actually building your reputation and your list and your opportunity. So we put them in multiple places. We have an opt-in form, which pops up on our website when you're a new visitor to our site, and then we include calls to action in all of our blog posts. So the more places you use them, the more effective they're going to be, without, of course, being totally obnoxious. But over time you will discover which ones work best for you. For the most part, I mean, we get most of our opt-ins coming from calls to action and things like YouTube videos where we say, please sign up for our newsletter. That way you'll hear about our upcoming tutorials and trainings, and then we create a link there. So we get about 100 a month from that sort of, which is very passive, kind of ongoing from places like YouTube.
Lisa's asking, she's considering ClickFunnels. Do you have any experience or thoughts on the program?
I looked at ClickFunnels. It's a very robust program. I'm not a huge fan of the SaaS model for some of those things. That's why I chose Optimized Press, as I was able to purchase it once. But then I also understand the back end, and I'm okay with all kind of working in the monkey works of a WordPress theme and a WordPress install. ClickFunnels and Lead Pages are two excellent products if you can justify the costs, but they certainly do a very good job. ClickFunnels is a little higher technical requirements when I used it, but you can actually build a full sequence out of the back end of it. And I think you probably can out of Lead Pages as well. Those are the two that are most often recommended, but they do get a little bit expensive over time.
Why bother with these expensive options that people are mentioning? Couldn't we just use a $2 membership system in WordPress?
No. A couple of things. First of all, sendability. The sendability is crucial. So even if you use a $2 option in WordPress, you have to have some sort of an email sending service that will actually deliver the email. So you're going to have to, so you buy that, whatever it is in WordPress, you have to use a tool like SendGrid in order to get the email out, because you can't use your private POP servers. You can't use your email servers. That's one. Number two is, it's all about the managing of that information afterwards. Just gathering people's name on a list doesn't do anything for you unless you can in some way nurture that list, know what they're opening, know what they're responding to. A big benefit of a tool like Infusionsoft that we use is with every email we send out, we look at what the open rate is, we look at what the click-throughs are, we look at what people are clicking on, and so we're constantly getting very valuable feedback based on the kind of even the surface analytics that's coming from a more sophisticated tool. And they'll all give you that. Aweber, MailChimp, they will all tell you what your open rate is, what people are clicking on. That's the valuable marketing information that you're not going to get from a simple WordPress plugin.
Agreed. Can you compare Thinkific versus Teachable?
Well, I haven't used Teachable, and we're just big pom-pom carrying fans of Thinkific. Thinkific, the tool, has changed my business, having access to this tool, because it does so many things so well for us. So it's made doing things like these webinars, allowing us to take these webinars and convert them into ongoing content exceptionally easily. I imagine Teachable does some of the same things, but I can promise you Thinkific does.
All right. Can you share some best practices on lead nurturing? In other words, how do you track the prospect journey until you decide they become a hot lead and you can offer them something else?
I think that we don't do as good a job as we can in that space, but we do. We've kind of got the Dottotech philosophy is very front end loaded, is where we are going to continue to create great content and listen to as much feedback as we get from our community, believing they will lead us ultimately just through that iterative process to the products that we develop and then sell. And then once we're into the sales cycle, because we've listened to what they're telling us they want, we do quite well with our sales. Having said that, I think that the biggest thing that anybody can do in social media marketing is listen to what their community says. At the end of the day, if you're producing content that's compelling, I mean, I pat myself on the back, pat April and Jen on our backs, because with this webinar today, the proof is in the pudding. We had, how many people are in the room right now? Let me just take a look. We started with 290 people in the room right now. We have 217 out of 297 people at our peak. So we've lost 60 people now that we're into the Q&A and we're into an hour into the webinar. But while we were in the main content, we had almost 100% attendance. And to me, that just tells us that listening to what you're interested in and then delivering the valuable content is the key. Is the key to this process. By the way, we are now at the top of the hour, and we always want to make sure that people can go if they have to, because we try to keep these webinars to an hour. But I know we're going to be going over with questions. We haven't even started with the Facebook Live ones yet. I'm not sure there are any. But having said that, if you have to leave now, we certainly appreciate your time. A webinar replay will be sent out in about an hour, which is available for 48 hours. Any of you that want anything beyond that, we encourage you to sign up and join us and support us on Patreon. The benefits, we think, are profound, both to you and to us. So with that, I want to thank everybody. Next week, sign up. Even it's for your own good. Our email overload course it has the power to make your life a little bit better. So you're going to have to work hard for it, but it has the power to make your life a little bit better. So I encourage you to sign up for that. Those of you that have to leave right now, till next time, have fun storming a castle, and we will continue with as many questions as people have. Jen, are there any questions on Facebook? Was there any point in us actually broadcasting this to Facebook?
No.
How many people are watching it right now?
We have 6 viewers.
We got 6 people.
Oh, wait, we're down to 5. We're
left?
back up to 6.
We'll have to
left. Well, at least Anthony said it's great content. That's good enough for me. Okay,
yes,
we got lots of questions here.
So one of the questions was, what are your thoughts on a newsletter? It seems like bigger brands use newsletters where entrepreneurs are really kind of just writing a more personalized email to their audience.
I think that personalized email is more valuable. I think we kind of hit personally, we probably cross over both spaces, but we make sure that it's a little bit, I make sure that every one of my newsletters that goes out, it has something from me at the top, which is, which I think our community is going to be engaged in. Just having an update of, a sales thing going out on a constant basis, that's not community building. That's marketing. It's not community building. When you're doing a social system, when you're building through social marketing, you're building a community, and that means that you're having conversations. And those conversations lead with compelling and interesting content that's personalized. So I think that style is going to always carry the day. Huge brands might not be able to do that, but the ones that do figure out how to do it, the ones that manage to tell their stories and manage to engage their audiences do far better. But for those of us that are on this call right now, I mean, we're all small. We're all entrepreneurial. We all have relationships with our customers. That's the nature of this community itself. So yeah, definitely, more personal is better.
Well, and I think newsletter can be such a formal, people take it as so formal, and a newsletter really is that value added content. It's great to add video to it. So you can personalize that newsletter, just call it a regular email communication.
Yeah, and the reason we call it that ourselves is just so that it's in the schedule, so we know when it's due. So we have a time that it has to be released. And then the hour before, once I was all set for this webinar today, I spent about 25 minutes, 30 minutes writing the opening for for the newsletter that April's going to send tomorrow. So yeah, Lisa, you asked if it's on Facebook. It's in the Dottotech Facebook group, or Dottotech Facebook page is where this live feed is happening.
Somebody was asking, how does HubSpot fit into all of this?
Whoa, way up there. HubSpot's expensive. It's a top end tool that I would say is kind of the next generation beyond what we're doing with Infusionsoft or Ontraport. It's a bigger commitment to content marketing. I think it's more designed for brands than it is for individuals. I might be a little bit wrong there, but it's kind of the next stage up.
So I've used HubSpot before, and I think that it's more on it's a tool that you have to use minimally 6 months to start to get the return on investment for that incoming lead piece. It does have the automation piece, and it has some great tools, but just like with Infusionsoft, there's a lot of API connectors. So you're going to have to buy other softwares to make it do what you want to do. So it ends up being even more costly. And I think they put out great content to their audience. And I think sometimes people are hooked on that great content, and then they end up saying, okay, well, they don't create the content for you. You create your own content. So that's one thing to remember.
Having said that, I am greatly appreciative of HubSpot because I think that their content creation model,
I agree.
it's some of the finest training in our industry.
I agree. All right, so I know we're using this new interface, but the questions, I can only access so far down on the chat. So I'm not sure, I'm sorry if I'm missing any questions here. I'm trying to copy and paste them so I can see them. Somebody was asking about SaneBox as an email kind of management tool.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that next week. It's more for personal email management than it is for a list management. So that's something that we'll talk about next week. SaneBox is it's like a giant filter system for filtering out, trying to find your priority emails from the junk in the email that you don't need to respond to.
Okay. Bud is asking, how do you put video that plays in an email body?
It's very difficult to do, and it actually will reduce the deliverability of your email. It's far better to put a link in. There are some tools that will include it, but that's only if you're sending it personally as an individual, not to a mass market. We include embeds for our YouTube videos in our email, but I think that might even be hurting our deliverability. In other words, you know how if you're using Google, the Google inbox, you'll have promotions and your main inbox. You want to be in that main inbox, but anything that pushes you into one of the secondary inboxes, when Google filters that information, that I think lowers your open rate, which lowers your opportunity for connections. So embedding graphics and video in your email lowers your connection rate. Plus, there's all sorts of different standards, and because it's an active an email is an active running process. It's often spam or not security software will trigger and not allow it to be played. So it's better to find another way. It's better to be simpler with your content.
Do you have an opinion on Mad Mimi?
No, other than we've heard good things. I think it's really comparable with MailChimp.
I agree.
And Emma Mail. Mimi and Emma have to be close because they're both women's names, I think.
I would say Emma is definitely more of an agency email platform.
Is it?
Than us.
Okay.
Yeah. If you were starting from scratch, would you consider using Thinkific as home for membership site? So using it as kind of a standalone.
Yeah, we're using it very much as a membership site on our in our business. Yeah, because because it does have a certain amount of, it's got control over the accounts coming in and people signing up. Yeah, it will do that. I would not build a membership site if I was starting, a classic membership site anymore, because they're so hard to administer. A tool like Thinkific is far easier to manage.
Let's see. Can you get into the format and timing of your responses? I'm assuming your email responses maybe in an autoresponder, so like the timing.
We work on that together. There's lots of good, trainings on building email funnels, which we're talking about. So depending on your own personal, your own kind of moral code of how often you think you should be mailing and what your audience will accept versus how willing you are to basically piss people off by sending them too much. That gets you farther down the road as far as sales goes. If you want to, push people away just to make sure that you get the sales and you're not too concerned about that. We try not to spam our list. We send 2 emails pretty much to the entire list per week. We send our main newsletter and then we send a reminder about this webinar. But once we are into a product launch cycle and we're actually about to sell our next course, which is going to be on delivering webinars, anybody who is not only people who have indicated they're only interested in our productivity tools, everybody else will get an accelerated number of emails from us, 2 or 3 a week for a couple of weeks, and then maybe a couple a day for the last day or so, unless they've opted out. But that's really where the rubber meets the road. We hope that we've engendered enough goodwill out of all the great content and free content we've delivered that when we're into that sales cycle, we'll hope that you will. We hope that our community at that point that will accept a slightly more aggressive email sending schedule. I see a lot of marketing people that send stuff every day, sometimes multiple times a day. It's you knowing your community that's going to determine the schedule that you can send it on, and also how much valuable content you have.
The other thing is you need to make sure you're monitoring your analytics. So when you're testing your timing and trying to do your timing. And then the other piece is really segmenting your list and making sure that you're talking to the people that want to be talked to about a specific product. I know at the end of the year, we started really trying to update, learning more about all of you guys and what you're interested in. That's huge when you're figuring out timing for those campaigns.
Yeah, and I see Laura is leaving. Laura, thanks for all the feedback. She had lots of great questions today. And Judy wants to sign up for the webinar course. Oh, you'll hear about it, Judy. It's going to be a good course.
Do you ever purge your own list of subscribers that never open anything?
As a matter of fact, we do. And we set up, we didn't do a lot of it early on, but as we've been growing, because it costs you money to have people on your list that aren't there, that aren't opening. Plus, I think it hurts your overall, it's just bad karma to be sending email to people that aren't there. So we have a system that April enacts once a month, where she takes, is it anybody that hasn't opened an email in 2 or 3 months?
It's 90 days.
90 days.
90
So
days.
we send an email to them saying, are you still interested in receiving content from us? We notice you haven't opened. And then we will send people that they are either opt out or opt in. And a surprisingly large number of people open that email and say, no, I still want to receive it. And then, but some people say, yeah, it's time for me to leave. Time for us to say goodbye, and we do. And then you will send 1 or 2 more emails to the people that don't respond, and before we actually archive those people and move them off our active list, right?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was reading a question. Sorry. I was trying to figure out.
Well, you're the one that built the sequence. I hope you know.
So yes. So basically, if they don't, I think it's a total of 4 emails, but they drop out before that if they haven't opened it or taken action on it. And then we tag them specifically that they want to stay in the list or that we never heard from them. And then they actually, we don't take them all the way out of the database, because if they did purchase previously, we want to make sure that we track that sale for
okay.
future.
So if they're a customer, we keep them in the list, but if they're not, okay. Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So the next question, have you ever used LearnDash?
No.
Okay.
Jen, what are you doing with the Facebook community? Why is nobody asking questions? Come on, Jen. You're letting the team down.
No.
I'm being mean, apparently.
Well, there's only 9 people watching. What's this about Facebook Live being so popular?
Janelle and I are having a great conversation. I don't know what you guys are talking about, but
Okay, fine. We'll just continue. I bought Wire. Could better figure this out.
I'm thinking next time, Steve, like I mentioned to Janelle, I said this is the joy of testing new technology, and that's why we're doing it so they don't have to, right? But
Right.
maybe next time we pre-advertise it to the Facebook feed so people know that it's coming. A lot of times,
what a good idea!
I'm brilliant.
You are. You're such a smart girl.
See, and now we're at 15.
Oh,
See? Keep talking, Jen.
See, you just need to put me on screen more, Steve. That's the problem.
Well, next time you got to do your makeup, girl.
That's true. Today, that was not happening.
You're gorgeous anyway. All right. So Anna, and I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong, does using an autoresponder almost eliminate being added to a spammer list? My friend only uses Gmail, not a responder, and she claims hardly anyone gets her emails. Could this be why?
Yeah. Yes. Yes, because Gmail is personal email. It's not designed for mail list management. So if you start sending out customer broadcast emails in Gmail, Google is going to identify you as a spammer, toot sweet, which is French for right now. So yeah, you're going to be, so that's why we use these auto-responding tools. And that's why you also have to do a little bit of research on the tool, because deliverability becomes a huge issue for you downstream. So that's why tools like Aweber and MailChimp insist that you do double opt-in, because they don't want mail coming from their server being identified as spam. So it's a balancing act that we all have to, that we all do. But yes, you should not be sending this from Pop email, from Gmail, from Yahoo, from any webmail account. Definitely not. That's bad form.
Well, and you can get your email blocked. You can also get, especially if you're using your own website URL and your email address through Gmail, you can actually get that blocked. So I definitely would consider an email platform. The other thing too is that to avoid spam is just be consistent and deliver on what you promise. So if you have somebody signing up for your autoresponder, let them know they are also joining your newsletter list or other communications and what to expect in that sequence. I think it prepares people and it's good customer service.
Good point. Okay.
Steve, I have a question.
Let's bang through these questions. Sorry, Jen?
I have a question.
Yay.
Yes.
Stuart, apparently his question fell through the cracks on the webinar. So
Actually, I'm on it right
plan.
now. Stuart, good timing. I was just going to say it. So you're on.
Bummer. Okay. Well, I'm going to say it just so Steve can leave me alone. Stuart is wondering what you think for newsletters. Should they have only one simple message or a collection of articles, videos, and links?
Boy, that's a good question. We do kind of a synopsis of our week in our one newsletter. But if you're a blogger, and it depends on the volume of content I think that you're producing, that you want to reach out to. Because we have a fairly diverse audience, we do a synopsis of, because some people are interested in my productivity stuff, some people are interested, so we try and be all things to all people in our newsletter. But if I had my druthers, I think, I would think it would be better to be focused on a single topic per email.
Yeah, and the shorter the better.
Yeah. April's always saying you're too long. It's too long.
Well, and I think the big thing to remember is make sure that your call to action of what's most important that you want your audience to do is above the fold, and also double check it on mobile too, because when you start really looking at mobile, I think it's like 62% of people are opening regular emails on their smartphones now. So you also definitely double check it on mobile.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stuart's also wondering when you're going to shave the beard.
Oh, I like the beard.
Or trim. He said trim. It's
going to be trimmed tomorrow. I got a speaking gig on Friday. It's not going to be trimmed very far. It's just the wildness, the branches. It's going to be pruned. I think that's the proper term now, is pruning, not trimming.
Yes, pruning.
For someone who, do you have another question, Jen?
No, that's all I got.
Thank you, B.
Okay, thank you. For someone who hasn't done a webinar yet, what tools do you suggest to keep the cost down?
If you just want to kind of try and play with it, increasingly there's going to be less tools that you can use, because the one free tool that we've all kind of started training on, which is Google Hangouts on Air, is going away. So they're all pretty much in the same cost. They're all at $300 a year price range, $300 to $400 a year for all of the main platforms. I tell you what, you should start by playing with it. Especially if you only have like a dozen or 24 people on, use something like Appear that we use for video conferencing. A simple little free video conferencing tool, appear.in, or is it IN? That would be a place that you could start to play with it. Webinars, I think, it really depends on the number of people you're going to have in the webinar. But if you're going to have, 50, 60, 80 people in, you're going to have to use a real webinar tool. And our Webinar Palooza walks through a lot of the different tools and their availability to you, but they're all going to cost some money, unfortunately.
Is Nimble good for autoresponders?
I think Nimble's a pretty complete CRM. I'm not sure that it has the funnel capabilities that most autoresponders. I think it's more like a salesman's type CRM than a marketer's type CRM.
Do you suggest for the beginning using Google Air Hangouts, which has no cost? See, I think you already covered that. Yeah, actually,
as long as it's available, which is only another till March.
All right, Steve, can you do a webinar on WordPress?
Yeah, next webinar, we're going to be talking about WordPress plugins, the things that you need on your website. So that's the next social system webinar, which is in 2 weeks.
Okay. How much do I need to invest in the beginning? All the people are on your webinar. Oh, so how much? So what's the monetary investment when people first start thinking about a webinar tool?
A tool like Webinar Jam that I'm using here is $400 for the year or so. So, but one sale or 2 sales of your product or makes it worthwhile. I like Webinar Jam if you are an online marketer. If you're a coach or something like that, there are better tools. If you're dealing with small groups, there are other tools that work better. But the Webinar Jam tool that we use, the beauty of it is how well it integrates with all of the email autoresponders and how much email autoresponder functionality is built right into the tool. You could actually get away with Webinar Jam if you're doing mainly marketing webinars is your main outreach. You could almost get away with it and no other email autoresponder for a period of time. Because it's got a very robust email autoresponder integration built into it. Having said that, it in combination with a MailChimp or it in combination with an Aweber is a real good start. So you're looking at $400 a year roughly for Webinar Jam at that point there. And then you're probably looking at even an entry-level account with Aweber or MailChimp is going to be $20 a month. So you're looking at another $240. So $600, $700 a year would be kind of the starting point, I would say.
Right, but keep in mind that MailChimp for autoresponders is $50 a month.
Is that the basic level?
That's the basic for autoresponders.
Oh, yeah. To be able to build a funnel. Okay. So right, then we're looking at $1,000.
Right. And then on their autoresponder functionality, you obviously can see your analytics, but you can't drop people from one campaign to another. So it does limit you, and it won't tag people. So my thought on autoresponders is MailChimp is a great tool for email marketing. You may want to consider looking at like ConvertKit or one of those other ones you've mentioned.
And ConvertKit's about the same price. It's about $1,000. It's about $600 a year, right?
It's actually starting at $29 right now. $29 for I think it's under 500 contacts. So
everything I've seen from ConvertKit, I like. They're the youngest player in the game, but they've been working very hard. I met the founder at Social Media Marketing World last year, and I know a lot of my compatriots are using it quite successfully.
Well, and the other thing that you can do, so ConvertKit's email, kind of their templates are limited, but it does sync with MailChimp. So, and if you're under 2,000 contacts on MailChimp, it's free. So you can get them to talk together and have automation and some nice email templates.
Yeah. Now, Judy says so much to invest, but we're talking about a fairly sophisticated system here, Julie. I mean, you can start with, building your list for free if you don't want sequences with a MailChimp or any of these tools. They will allow you to have a couple hundred up to, I think, 500 people on your list as you start to grow it. So, we're talking about the real business of how we run our business. That's where that investment comes from. You can certainly start out with free tools. And I did. I started out with like the Aweber. I was spent I think $19 a month was how I grew my list for the first 2 years using Aweber. So there you go. John asked my opinion of Zoom. I think Zoom is a brilliant webinar tool, but it's ideally designed in conferencing. So if you're a coach, or if you have a small group of 8, 10, 12 people, 6 people that you get together in a room and you do a presentation with, that's really where it shows its strength. It's a good webinar tool, but not as good as Webinar Jam. Certainly not as good as this version of Webinar Jam for big audiences like we had here.
All right. I think we're getting close to the end here. What do you feel like the Facebook Live is? Why should we use Facebook Live? What's the advantages of it?
I don't know yet. Well, obviously, it's prospecting. It's about exposing your product to other people in community building. That's what Facebook is all about. Facebook, to me, is a place of discoverability where people are going to find us. We're going to have small amounts of conversation there. But the main thing is I want people to be exposed to my content in Facebook, determine whether or not they like our content, they like what we have to offer, and then move from there.
Do you think ConvertKit has better deliverability rates than MailChimp?
No idea. I can't speak to that.
I think most of them are around 96%.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, give or take. Let's see. What's your thought on MailPoet?
Don't have any thoughts on MailPoet. Haven't used it.
All right. Do you know much about GetDrip by Lead Pages or a great email autoresponder for e-commerce?
I know that Lead Pages is really trying. Oh, there goes Farley. I know that Lead Pages is working at expanding their offering and becoming much more than simply landing page software. I don't know how that all resolves out. Even people at Webinar Jam is adding something that they call. I lost the name of it. I should know the name of it. But they're adding an email autoresponder and management CRM tool to Webinar Jam, which is just in beta right now that people are trying out. So there's lots of different options there as far as each one of these services is SaaS services trying to expand their offering to try to capture more and more money from their existing customer base. So Lead Pages is definitely in that space. They've reinvented themselves pretty dramatically over the last year, but I haven't used that tool enough to know.
Do you have a recommendation of which tool might be best for a coach?
As far as a webinar tool, I think Zoom is the tool that coaches want to use.
I think more for autoresponders.
Oh. See, you need more of a classic CRM because it's more one-on-one as opposed to group. So a tool like we were talking briefly just a few minutes ago. What was the CRM that they were asking about? Sorry?
Act early on?
No, we were talking about another one later on. But like a tool like Insightly or something like that, that's a little bit more personal and a little bit less built on funnels. That sort of a CRM tool is probably going to do you quite well.
The other thing too is look at some tools. I heard Campaign Monitor is great for coaches, and it also has an integration with being able to schedule an appointment. So those are, if you're looking at some tools, see if there's a calendar integration for it.
Very good. I like that. Yes.
We just had a Magic conference this past weekend and sold online registration, live casting everyone to a private Facebook group. So that was a share. Been watching you a while, Steve. Like your style, you are easy to listen to. I'm going to lift Steve up for a while here. Thanks, Steve. I'm going to go shovel the snow. And Steve forgot to answer the question, the e-commerce part of my question. So an autoresponder that works with e-commerce.
Okay, so we use in Infusionsoft, it has an e-commerce engine, which works fairly well, but it only works with PayPal. For example, Thinkific, we're using more and more the e-commerce solution that we have there because they also accept Stripe payments.
Infusionsoft accepts credit cards, Steve. You're just on the Canadian side. So like in the US, you can use authorize.net to use credit cards through Infusionsoft.
Okay, we haven't. I haven't enabled that, but we accept credit cards on PayPal as well.
Right.
On the site. Yeah. So most of the tool, for sure, Infusionsoft and Entreport both have shopping cart functionality. But there's nothing wrong with looking at using a third-party tool like One Shopping Cart or something like that as well.
WooCommerce.
Yeah.
And a lot of them have Zapier. If you use Zapier, Zapier is a connection tool between one application and another. A lot of times Zapier will connect with one of the autoresponder tools.
But one of the really pleasant surprises of using a tool like Thinkific for managing our courses, which could be considered kind of a community, is their really robust e-commerce offering that's included in the software.
All right. Does Webinar Jam have a phone app that I can watch Webinar Jam on my phone? It's a great question.
I don't know.
We're going to have to test that.
I think it's just in the browser.
And I think that is a wrap, my friend.
Yay. Good. Thank you, everybody. That was an awesome. The questions were, there's so much in the world of email autoresponders, and we covered, I think we gave you a good picture of places to start and kind of potential of what you can do. If you're just starting out, you've got more research to do, but this gives you a base to understand. And the key, one of the keys that I will say and leave you with is once you make a decision and you sign up for that tool, don't look back. Just look forward, look into that tool, see exactly what it'll do and master that tool and grow as far as you can with that tool. That to me is one of the keys to any of these online service, any of these online tools that we use is you have to know how to use it and master it. And too many people get one and then spend all their time questioning their judgment and trying out a variety of other tools and then looking instead of just mastering the tool you have. You can make them all do whatever we want. Case in point, Aweber is considered a fairly entry-level tool, but one of the biggest lists I know is the social media examiner list, which is like 1 million people. They use Aweber. They've stayed with Aweber from the beginning and haven't switched. They figured out how to make it work. You can do the same. So with that, I have to thank everybody so much. Jen, thanks for toughing it out. You can go have a nap now.
Bye, Jen. Feel better.
You're most welcome. I put the link in there for everybody to join us, register for every Webinar Wednesday. Make sure to share that with friends too, as well. That's the nice thing about Facebook too, is that you can easily share that so they can get these beautiful nuggets. And Stuart has requested a live beard trim.
No, not happening. It would make a mess, and it's not going to happen.
Oh,
maybe I'll Facebook Live it when I go to the barber.
There you go.
Adina's all about the woman that cuts my hair is all about social sharing. She's got a big Instagram following. At any rate, we've really gotten off track. Folks, thank you very much. Next week, Webinar Wednesday. Tell your friends about it when you get the email about it, because the email one is going to be awesome. I want to see a huge crowd because we can make a difference in your lives with that one, I know. Till next time, on behalf of April, on behalf of Jen, I am Steve Dotto. Have fun storming a castle.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, guys.